If you don't know already, my name is Shayla, and I am a career coach who happens to enjoy very much cooking. I have taken the art and skill of job searching and career coaching, something that people, really they stress over. And I've taken that and I have combined it with something else I really like, which is cooking. And so that's what I'm gonna do with you all. I'm gonna answer some questions that I have had folks submit to me just over time. And so you see all this steam in the background. I'm cooking, so I'm gonna tell you guys what I'm making tonight. I am making a creamy chicken pasta, but it has peppers, sweet peppers. It's a creamy tomato-based pasta. It's fusilli pasta, so it's the spirally kind. So I can smell this oil. I have some olive oil heating up in this pan, and I can smell it getting really hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some chicken, and it's gonna brown. While that is kind of doing its thing, I'm gonna go ahead and answer the first question. So I have been told that it's important to look at other people's careers and how they got to where they are. I like to ask them what's the best career decision they ever made. So now I'm asking you, Shayla, what's the best career decision you've ever made? I was in a job that I really, really liked. I was working for a company that I loved working for, and I made a very difficult decision to leave the company and leave the role because the role had put me in a very stagnant place. So I left the company, I left my team. I loved my team, I adored them. I wasn't necessarily managing people, but I was kind of serving as a mentor to a lot of people in the company. And so leaving was tough. After I left, it opened up so much more in terms of opportunities I never would have sought had I actually stayed. So I would say that the hardest choice I made was leaving, but it was also one of the smartest and boldest career moves that I've made. I encourage you to think about it as, what is my next right move? What's the next right move for me? In fact, I saw a video, and I think it was Oprah. I'm gonna have to find that video, and when I find it, I'll share a link to it. Video, and it's Oprah, and she's talking about the importance of thinking about your next right move, as opposed to try to think things through so futuristically that you're unable to make a decision. So I'm gonna turn this over. I'm browning chicken, and I'm turning it over. Here's what I've learned about browning any kind of protein or vegetable. Moisture ain't it if you want your chicken to get brown, okay? How long should my resume be? I literally cannot keep it from spilling over to 2 pages. Guys, listen, people always say, keep your resume at 1 page. And I hear it. I understand. Recruiters look at your resume for a total of 6 seconds before they make a decision as to whether or not to pass you. 6 seconds. Well, 5 to 7 seconds, but 6. There are going to be some times when you have trouble keeping it at 1 page. Here's my advice. If you have to go to 2 pages, make it a full 2 pages, okay? Don't go spill over to page 2 and you only take up that first quarter of the page, okay? So make sure that it's worth it, or that you're not adding any more than 10 years of experience. Unless your experience is so relevant to this role, which, let's be honest, the way our workforce is rapidly changing, there's a high likelihood that the work I did more than 10 years ago is not related to the work I'm trying to do in the future. No job descriptions, okay? Please do not copy and paste your job description into your resume. Please make it impact-based. You're putting a job description, but you're actually talking about what you did at the company to make a difference. I'm going to move on to question number 3. Are you really supposed to try to negotiate every offer? I hear that you're supposed to always ask for more money or more no matter what. And I don't know if I should for my situation. You know what? I'm really glad you asked that. Because, listen, salary negotiation is one of those things, it's tricky and it's important. It's important for us to understand how to do it. It's important for us to exercise it whenever possible, especially if you are a woman, if you are a person of color, if you are in any way underrepresented. We know discrimination is real. We know that a wage gap exists. You decide what you're willing to work for and what makes sense to you. A little poppy. Okay. You decide what makes sense to you in terms of what you are willing to work for, and then you make the choice as to whether or not salary negotiation is right for you. We talked about this before, but I recommend going on payscale.com or even going on Indeed.com and looking up the salary information for the role you're interested in, the location you're interested in, and at PayScale you actually fill out a profile and they tell you how much you're worth based on your experience and your background. I hear a lot about executive presence at work. What is executive presence? How do I know if I have it? And it has to do with your credibility. If you go onto Wristworks Instagram page, there is a post, and I think the post is like, these 3 things are blowing your credibility at work. Credibility is probably the major part when we think about executive presence. Credibility and power. Trying to build credibility first. And how do you do that? Is being approachable. So believe it or not, approachability is important to building credibility at work. Can people come to you? Can they talk to you? Can they ask you a question? So being approachable. And then the second thing, and this is going to sound like a contradiction, but it's not, being authoritative. So how do you balance approachability with authoritative nature? You know, doing what you said you were going to do, being consistent and impeccable with your word at work. There's another thing that I've seen people to be mindful of, interrupting people. That's another thing that's going to blow any attempt at crafting an executive presence. Don't interrupt people. I encourage you to try to cultivate a quiet confidence. Okay? That's what you take away from here, a quiet confidence. So, you know what I love about cooking? You know, you can have like a really shit day. You can have the worst day ever, okay? And you can come home and you can pour yourself a glass of wine if you partake, and you can come in the kitchen and you can put some oil in a pan and get it nice and hot, and then sprinkle some flour on that and whisk that in. And you can whisk in a little milk into that, and 100% of the time it will turn into a cream sauce. It's consistent, right? Like when things are going crazy, you can get in here and heat up some oil and some flour and some milk, and it'll turn into a cream sauce every single time. And that is why I like to cook. I had an interview in person and it went well. I left feeling good about the interview, and I want to send a follow-up email. Do you have any specific tips for doing? Send it as soon as possible. I mean, like, you leave the interview, go home, you feel good about it, start crafting your follow-up email. Thank the interviewer, but also please thank your recruiter. Your recruiter works so hard. So thank your interviewer and your recruiter for their time. Bring up something specific that you talked about in the interview. So try to recall, what you talked about. Bring that up in the email. Tie that somehow to your background and your skills and ability. Just reminding them, hey, by the way, I also do this. Bonus points if you tie it to some skill or ability that you didn't really get to hit on in the interview. Say something else that makes you stand out as a candidate. Invite them to check out your side project if you're working on a side project. I don't have any work experience and I need a job like yesterday. I hear you. what do? I understand this feeling of I need a job right now. That being said, and this sucks, but it is a part of our culture and it is what it is. That desperation, people can smell it and it turns people off. You need to find a way to curb the desperation. So if it's a financial situation, if you need a job because you need money, because you need to survive, my recommendation for you, if you cannot find anything, is to get a survival job until you can find a job or a career that you're more interested in. Survival job means get a job where you can make some money. If you don't have any work experience, this is going to be helpful because what is it going to do? It's going to help you get some work experience. And volunteer while you have the survival job. If you need to cultivate some experience, say you want to be a graphic designer, but you don't have professional graphic design experience, go find some nonprofits and volunteer to design some stuff for them. You can do this while you have your survival job, but what you could also do is take that volunteer experience and put that on your resume, and bam, your resume should be in tip-top shape. In fact, you should have several. You should have several different resumes tailored to different kinds of industries and roles and work that you want to do. Ask people to introduce you to people who could help you get a job. Okay, so are you active in your church? Do you have any other community events that you're active in? Use those connections to try to meet other people. That's it. I'm stirring my pasta with my sauce. I'm done here. I'm gonna add some cheese. I'm going to add some fresh parsley because y'all know I like a look. I love a garnish. But yeah, I'm done with dinner. I haven't finished my wine yet, so I'm actually gonna make a plate and have my wine. I've answered all of your questions. Thank you so much for joining me live and for watching this. You all have a great night.